I'm Evan the counselor, and here are my 5 tips for finding a therapist that's the best fit. One of the questions I most commonly get from friends or others who know that I'm a therapist is, how do I find a therapist? So here are my 5 tips I most commonly give them. Number 1, first identify why you're seeking therapy. If it's issues like depression, anxiety, trouble in relationships, or other issues that are more common, most therapists will be trained to handle these. If it's something a bit more specialized like addiction, couples therapy, PTSD, children and adolescents, or even religious counseling, you may want to be sure to find a specialist in that area. Look, therapists aren't perfect, and they may accept clients even if it's out of their field of expertise. We're kind of helpful to a fault. A good way to tease out what the therapist specializes in is to simply look at their profile. Most therapists have a profile written up about themselves with their specialties and area of interest. Number 2, look at their credentials. Whether it's the type of license they have or the training they've done, look at their experience and see if it matches well with you. Most people don't know this, but there are generally 4 license types that make up the class of mental health professionals that are licensed to do therapy. Again, they vary a bit by state, but in general, you have clinical social workers, psychologists, marriage and family therapists, and clinical counselors. All are qualified to do therapy and have a wide range of specialties, but they each tend to take a slightly different approach due to the education they received. For example, if you're needing couples counseling, you know that an MFT will have sufficient training to do so. Psychologists are doctorate level and very fancy, and can do more in-depth psychiatric diagnostics.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors. Oh, that has to be you.
Most states have credentials for addiction professionals, such as an LADC or CADC, so seek those out if you're struggling with substances. Throughout all the disciplines, therapists may have advanced training, so the credentials aren't everything, but they can be a good indicator. Also note that many therapists are still under supervision and working towards their independent licensure. Many of them have a good deal of experience, and it does take a lot of training to get to that point, so it's okay to give them a shot if you feel comfortable. Number 3, use your intuition to find a good personality fit. So much of therapy is about the quality of the relationship. One therapist may be great for one person, but not another, just due to the way they vibe, which is hard to know before meeting someone. This is another great reason to read through their profiles. Many clients that reach out to me have read the narrative I wrote and like what I had to say. Something jumped out at them that hit home to their situation. Also know that it's okay to shop around. Many people who seek therapy don't necessarily vibe with the first person they see. I would recommend giving it 3 sessions though. First impressions aren't always everything, and the first session is generally an assessment, so not much therapy is being done. But after a few sessions, if it's still not a fit, find someone else. Sometimes a therapist will do a short consult call, and if it's possible, I'd recommend reaching out to a few before deciding. I've seen so many clients who would quit therapy right off the bat because it was a bad fit, and they just stopped going for years after, and they really needed the help. Number 4 is making a financial choice that makes sense for you. Generally, therapists will either take insurance or not. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. By paying out of pocket, the therapist doesn't have to jump through insurance hoops and treat you based solely on a diagnosis, and it gives both of you a little more freedom. Most of these out-of-pocket therapists will accept a sliding scale based on your income to lower the costs. But if you do have the insurance, I recommend using it. Why not? Just be sure to check what your out-of-pocket expenses may be so you aren't hit with a surprise bill. You often have a deductible or other out-of-pocket costs just like you would for your other medical expenses. So some people with higher out-of-pocket expenses just opt to pay the therapist themselves and can often negotiate lower prices for their sessions and therefore save money. Number 5, find the right tools to search for a therapist. One of my favorite ways to find a therapist referral for someone is a website called Psychology Today. They have an amazing search tool that you can filter based on all the categories I shared earlier, such as specialties, treatment approaches, insurance payers they accept, and have detailed profiles to help find a clinician that stands out to you. I get a ton of my referrals from my Psychology Today profile, and they tend to be good fits, but maybe that's just because I'm awesome. Well, no, I'm not really a great fit for everyone, but I find that clients that read my profile and make a decision that way tend to stick around. Even just Googling counseling centers near you is a good approach because most all their websites will have profiles for each therapist, similar to Psychology Today. I also recommend finding a referral or suggestion from someone you know, Perhaps someone who works in a medical or mental health setting, maybe an acquaintance that had a good experience with a provider, but no one too close to you to avoid conflicts of interest. Utilize your network, kind of like you would for a plumber. You don't want someone to blow up your pipes and you don't want someone to mess with your head. Well, that may be a bit dramatic. I'm Evan the counselor, and those are my 5 tips for finding a therapist. I hope you found those helpful, and feel free to reach out if you have any tips of your own or any questions. I try to get back to as many people as I can. Thanks for watching.